Hello, I'm IBX Toycat, and welcome back to an episode of the Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I've been playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft, building stuff, killing stuff, and destroying stuff. And that is an old school intro for a very new school update. And yes, I do have a giant bee here that's just there for the purpose of me saying IBX Toycat. But yeah, the bee update is coming out in just a couple of days now, and as a result, you're going to want to have some bees in your world, I imagine. And to have bees, you might want some flowers to attract them. You're going to want some beehives which come off this update, but you're also going to need a lot of flowers in general so you can breed the bees. Because flowers are the breeding item for bees, you're going to want a lot of flowers, but how do you find yourself a lot of flowers? Especially if you're in an existing part of your Minecraft world and you've deflowered the entire thing, you could say. How are you going to get more of these dandelions, roses, etc.? And the simple answer to this question is you need some bone meal. So how do you get bone meal in large quantities? And there are a few ways. You can kill fish if you want to, you can kill skeletons, and you might be lucky like me and have like a pretty large reserve of skeleton bones in a chest, and this is always a great solution to that. But what if you want to get yourself lots and lots of flowers, but you don't already have a lot of skeletons killed? Because maybe the reason you like bees, maybe the reason you like this, is because you play Minecraft in a pacifist way. You don't kill mobs to get the number of bones required to make, like 24 bone blocks, or to get the number of bones required to... I have a lot of bones just chilling around in different chests, but what if you are in the boat where you think that having bones is silly for that reason, or you just don't want to do it, and you want to get bones in a different way? Well, this is where a brand new 1.14 block, so the Village and Pillage update, the previous update comes in, because you can make a composter using just 7 slabs, so take 21 slabs, and you can get yourself 3 composters, and then you can use pretty much any organic material, and you can make bone meal the slow way. And let's say you have an entire farm which can make organic material. Well then, fun fact, all you need to do is chop down a little bit off it, go to your composter, and then spam the left trigger or the right click, and then bone meal will pop out slowly one by one. And yeah, having an insane sugarcane farm finally is coming useful for something, because in today's video I'm going to be doing something that a lot of you will probably want to do if you care about bees and want to get absurd quantities of them, because I am going to be chopping down a lot of sugarcane and turning it into bone meal, and then harvesting the bone meal for some flowers. Because yeah, in this Let's Play, actually right now the big thing I'm working on is of course the End Island kind of deserty thing, but I figured it makes sense to work on something topical this week, because updates in Minecraft are something I of course care a lot about. You might know that because you've been here since the the days where most of what I did was covering updates and the weird things you can do with them, but there's something I care about a lot, even if nowadays it's not the biggest type of content on the channel, and probably not one of the biggest types of content on YouTube as a whole. Like, let's be honest, like update stuff, it's kind of like the hype for it's gone down because Minecraft's branding of updates has gone down entirely. Like, even though I play Bedrock and I don't play Java, this is still the 1.15 update because the equivalent number for Bedrock just isn't very well known. There's a lot of issues of branding basically when it comes to Minecraft and their updates. Is it faster to use 2 composters at the same time maybe? It's not faster, but it is more satisfying. But yeah, as a result of, look at this, look at all the bone meal we're creating just by using organic material. This is a horrifically inefficient way to like get bone meal in terms of like the speed of it, but it is kind of a fun thing to do. It gives me an excuse to farm sugarcane, okay, and that's all I really need in the world. But yeah, basically the update name brand's a little bit off, and it makes the kind of like search process harder. I would say it makes like the idea of becoming an update channel these days probably a questionable idea, but it's something I really enjoy, so it's something you'll see at least a few videos of come Wednesday when the update comes out for Bedrock. So yeah, this is why you need some bone meal. Get it now. I always recommend, like, honestly, if you're starting a brand new world, that's a good idea too. If you're the sort of person who's always starting brand new worlds, then don't worry, wait till the update comes out, then have yourself a great Minecraft day. But if, like me, you have a long-term survival world that maybe you put a lot of time into, it makes sense to do some form of preparation before then, so you can be ready, because that's the definition of preparation, right? So yeah, while we do this, the Update Adventures is not just updating you about Minecraft updates, it's also about life, the universe, and everything in between. And today, everything in between just so happens to include my recent trip to America, because I went to America on Thanksgiving, so I've experienced my first I guess we're gonna, just for that one pedantic person, my United States of American. I had my first Thanksgiving on the continent of North America, and that was kind of fun in my opinion. Obviously I didn't actually do anything Thanksgiving-y. I went ice skating though, which is basically, if you think about it, is basically Thanksgiving. And yeah, actually I improved my ice skating skills. But no, let me tell you a story about my time getting into America, because I actually my flight landed on the 28th of November, which this year just so happens to be Thanksgiving. And this is a bad idea. Do not travel on Thanksgiving. And, you know, even though internationally it's not so bad because not everyone was going for that same purpose, there was very few, you know, border agents, and there was a lot of people trying to get into the country. And America's very weird about letting people, even people, you know, from countries that let Americans in. I've gone over this before, but even though it should be pretty much no hassle to go into America for tourist reasons, there's a lot of hassle involved and paying money involved. So basically, yeah, I had to wait in a really long line just to get to a person to have this little conversation where they don't believe that I'm coming to America for the 4th time in, you know, 4 months for valid reasons that aren't sort of drug smuggling. But let me tell you a funny story, because basically, also look at all the bone meal we're stacking up. Basically, I had to get in a really long line to get to a customs agent or whatever, and it started out looking like a ridiculously long line, but then the line got so much longer behind me. Like, I'm talking about, this line was like unbearably long to look at from the front, and then like it started snaking behind me so fast. I was the first person off my plane, or like one of the first 10, let's say. I was on like the first 10 people off my plane, so like when all the people behind me got on and then more flights started landing, the line got longer and longer and longer, to the stage where I imagine the people at the back took 5-6 hours, because it took me 3 hours, even with the nonsense I'm about to mention. Because yeah, I wait in the line for like an hour and a half. Someone's waiting for me on the other end. They'd just be like, turns out Thanksgiving is a time people want to go to America, and so that was kind of like, I would say, awkward on some level. But as well as just being, by the way, let's take a quick nap. Actually, let's go to the other side and let's start the bone milling thing so you can see how that works. But so I went to America on a very busy day, and it meant that there was this huge line that just really wasn't moving. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes to deal with a person. There weren't many people there to deal with it, and it just meant there was this huge like whole process thing. And basically after a couple of hours of waiting, something interesting happened. They decided to speed up the line by doing something that you don't need to know the details of, but basically about half the people could come out of the line and go into a different line, which would be shorter, because it's for people that, you know, are going to be much easier to let in because they've already entered America, which I was like, heck yeah, that includes me. However, something I had in the back of my mind is like, how are you going to get people out of an existing line without causing pushing issues? Because they said something like, no one's cutting the queue. He said it like 3-4 times. No one cuts the queue. You just leave here if you're going this way. You go there if you're going that way. That's what they said, and that's the way they say it. However, as soon as they in my head, this makes me anxious because, living in the UK, being British, you might imagine my affinity for lines is called queues. Is quite strong, I like the idea of like a nice little orderly queue where the order you get there determines the order you go somewhere. This is why a lot of countries are very confusing to me, because it's like, oh yeah, actually instead of being based on order or instead of anything else like that, what if we just did it randomly? Whoever pushes the most, whoever's the most violent can be rewarded. This is like medieval how we decided how kings worked stuff, and people use it in genuine lines in 2019. But yeah, basically I got really terrified that like, oh god, this is gonna lose my last 2 hours of line waiting or something like that. Like something's gonna happen. There's gonna be some pushing involved, and then I realized like I'm being ridiculous. But then what happened is the line pushing happened. The moment he says like, oh, you can go this way, people start moving forward normally, and then some people decide like, actually, I'm just gonna cut past everyone else because I'm going to the faster line. And then as soon as one person does it, people start following them. As soon as a lot of people start following them, some people just went crazy. Like again, I can't clarify enough just how fast civilization can break down, and we've got like airport proof of that now, based on the fact that like all it took is no one wanted to do anything, I'm sure, but as soon as some people started pushing, everyone else is like, oh, we can do that now, and things got crazy. And as soon as enough people around me started doing it, there was this woman in front of me that I was like keeping track of, like it's like my place in line. As soon as she started kind of left and right, I was like, oh, I guess this is the rules now. Might as well be one of the first people to cut rather than being a sucker and waiting in even more of this line. Because again, I hate the idea of like being all these people like benefiting because they were being rude. So, I did the logical thing and I went ahead of that. And yeah, basically it took them forever to be like, hey, this entire line has stopped working. The barriers came down and stuff. And I don't know, like the long story short of this is like, basically it was line anarchy. And I think it's the worst I felt in a very long time. Like this is literally a horror story for British people, right? Like, oh, so there was a line and then the line broke, and instead of being based on actual order, it just went randomly. And I just wanted to share with you all that like I had the most minor grievance in the world, but actually it is a very major grievance in my opinion, because of the fact that, like, you know what, that lines exist for a reason. We make them fairly orderly for a reason, and as soon as all it takes is like one person choosing to break down a line, and then enough people not policing that, and everything goes to hell. And it makes me realize that there's a lot of civilization that works that way. So yeah, I was in a line that broke that made me realize that all of civilization is fragile and is literally about 3 seconds, or like, you know, one hungry meal away from society just collapsing in on itself. And that's nice to know, isn't it? That's a really nice little detail. But yeah, so I spent 3 hours of my Thanksgiving in a customs line. I actually, you know, I felt bad about this. I didn't want to be ahead of anyone. I just wanted to be in my original place. I worked out afterwards that I'd actually ended up like ahead of like a few people that I spotted in line behind me, and I was like, no, this is the worst. And yeah, basically that means that I should have been in line for 4 hours. I almost spent 4 hours of my life waiting in a line, and I spent 3 hours, which is still a lot. But like, I can't believe that was just an accepted. I don't know. It's just a reminder that, like, if you are going to the United States and you're a non-US citizen, you better believe that there is a lot of time added to that. I don't know. It always has been the case for me too. Like, there's always the US is one of the longest lines to get into. Not because it's even like the hardest country to get into. They just don't staff the border very well, which I think actually probably ties into domestic issues or something like that. Like, oh yeah, who wants to spend money on letting the big bad foreigners in, like IBX Toy Cat? Yeah, you know, maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's the worst thing in the world. Maybe it's not. All I know is we've got ourselves 64 exactly dandelions and 10 lilies of the valley. So yeah, these 64 dandelions, we can breed them to make 32 extra bumblebees, and isn't that nice? We just made some stuff like that. Also, I don't actually know if we can use bamboo on the things. We shouldn't be able to, but it's like not. I don't believe this is on the list. Let's see what happens if we try to put bamboo into a. It literally doesn't let you, which is weird because it's organic material. I guess they wanted you to go back and use other things instead. But yeah, if you want, you can also use cakes. Really bad idea to use cakes, but you can do it. And you can use a bunch of other things along those same lines. But look, just like this, we've got ourselves 64 dandelions, and we're going to put them in our little bee place. A little bee place sounds weird, but we're going to put them in our giant bee, because this is where we want our bees to be. We want our bees to be inside the bee, is what I am saying. That's right. IBX Toy Cat says that. Anyway, so let's. Oh, should we place a barrel down? We still do. Oh, by the way, wait. I can hear a lot of noises around me. So one sec. I just have a whole issue. I left a village. So I'm playing Minecraft on 2 devices right now, because playing Minecraft once at a time, you know, that's what lame people do. What real people do is they play Minecraft on as many devices as they physically can handle, and that's just the cool people way of doing things. Oh, there's a barrel over there, but I could also put like a barrel just in the doorway here. Oh, that's scary. Just in the doorway over here. And then we can put our 64 flowers in there. And that way we can breed our bees when we get here. This is way too small for a bee farm, by the way, but like, I think there's something cute about putting way too many bees in way too small a space. Cute might not be the right word. Cruel might be another one. But again, I don't like bees. I don't know why everyone's like I know the actual reasons people say they're so, you know, they love bees so much. But like, are bees really necessary, or do we just think they're necessary, you know? Like, it's kind of like that line, you know? That line just exists because we think the line exists. We don't need the line. It makes things better for us right now. It's the way we know. And I much prefer the world where there are those things. But I hate when people pretend like, oh yeah, without it, there's just no way imaginable. Because there is a world imaginable without pretty much anything you can imagine. Hey, imaginable without anything you can imagine. But like, it just usually isn't a very pleasant one. And that's always a key distinction for me. Like, hey, we can do anything. We just shouldn't do most things. that's you know, I should run for political officer. That's my campaign. Like, hey, we can do, you know, I'm gonna prove on day 1, I'm gonna sign a bunch of weird bills. Like, I'm gonna, you know, like, I know, like, throw money into the sun just to prove that we can do something different. I'm gonna do all these little minute changes, and then I'll be like, hey, you know how we can do crazy stuff? Yeah, we're not going to, because it's a bad idea. We're gonna go back to doing normal things, like, you know, sane, you know, programs, and also, like, I don't know, what are things that everyone agrees on? Books. We're gonna not burn them. We're gonna keep them very much with their pages intact. That's my government's policy. But yeah, so staying on my actual point today, which, I mean, let's be fair, there is not really a point today. But to stay on my point to some extent, let's talk a little bit about, LASIK eye surgery. Because I had to wear contact lenses. I wear contact lenses all the time. I don't have to. It's just kind of my easiest solution to, like, I like to see things correctly, and I can put pieces of plastic in my eye once a month that make me able to see correctly. And it's wonderful, because seeing correctly is something you don't appreciate till you... It's one of those things where you don't appreciate it till you have it, and then you don't appreciate having it until you lose it. It's one of those parts of, like, human behavior that's all based on contrast, not based on absolute values. Actually, there's a lot of things that we make this mistake on, like, people... Oh, we have way too much sugarcane, apparently. Only one way to get rid of it that I can see. But yeah, no, there's this funny problem I feel like people have in all sorts of fields, where people assume that suffering is, like, absolute rather than relative. Like, oh no, I stubbed my toe, this is the worst pain in the world. I mean, at that moment, it's a terrible thing. It's not worse than the Holocaust, or it's not worse than the fact that Minecraft hasn't added a cave update. But, like, it feels like it is in the moment, because that's how these things are. A lot of us, as humans, we can only really work out relativeness. The idea of consciousness, the idea of being able to understand things outside our own bodies, is kind of a new phenomenon, like in the grand scheme of history. And as a result, I think it's always weird when people try to act like there is a properly objective worldview, because it always has to be based on you in some way. You always are. Let's make bamboos into sticks, by the way. You always have to base your you're always interpreting the world from your own perspective. And that's not a bad thing. You can try and adjust for that to try and get an objective worldview, but you'll never precisely do it. And yeah, as a result of that, I think that's why we spot contrast and stuff way more, because we have stupid animal brains that make stupid animal mistakes. And that's fine, because we are stupid animals, or at least you are. I am a very intelligent ocelot, thank you very much. I'm not going to call myself an ocelot ever, by the way. One of the mistakes, or like, this is probably like good branding, but it's questionable in the modern day of the internet, is like, because it's like toy cat, I'm like, you get it, I'm like a cat that is a toy. Because it's got like cat in the name somewhere, the number of people are like, oh, so you identify as a cat now then, is like probably concerningly high. Like there are probably some people who are like, oh yeah, I didn't like IBX toy cat, but then I realized that he thought he was a cat person, and I respect that struggle. So maybe it benefits me more than it hurts me. But I really feel like, oh god, yeah. I call myself an ocelot, like, because I'm an ocelot skin. And someone's going to be like, oh, you actually think you're an ocelot. You're one of those, are you? And it's like, I mean, like, no, but if you need to think that way, then you know what? You can think that I'm whatever you want me to be. I can be a Velociraptorsaurus Rex, which is definitely not two dinosaur names mixed together. I can be one of those if you want me to be. I can be a dead dinosaur, which I guess all dinosaurs are dead, which is sad really if you think about it. But I can be anything you want me to be, including a YouTuber who grows bone meal all day, because he's gone slowly insane and thinks that placing sugarcane in a composter is what constitutes as entertainment these days. But you know what? That's what we're doing anyway, despite your objections. So, yeah, basically, I wear glasses only when absolutely necessary. And it's just because, like, oh yeah, I can't live without my... If I could, like, get used to the bad vision again, I'm sure I would just go glassesless. Because, like, I hate them so much as a concept. Like, oh yeah, I can't see, so I'm going to have a piece of glass about, an inch away from my eye, about a few centimeters away from my eye. And then that piece of glass is going to magnify the vision roughly the right amount. It actually changes the curves or whatever, so that I can see things pretty good for about 70% of my vision. If you've never worn glasses before, if you've never had glasses, I genuinely cannot figure it out why people think that it's not the worst idea in the world, because it literally is like, oh yeah, you just you put a piece of glass in front of your face that doesn't cover all of it, and it creates this whole like vision issues where you can't see what exactly is going on. Also, melons are not good for composters, apparently. They're one of the 50% foods, I guess, that give you such a low thing. And given that melons can sell for emeralds, and emeralds can buy much better things than bone meal, my pro tip today is going to be don't do the thing I just did. Instead, store your stuff in a chest and use it later. So anyway, yeah, going back to my thing. I really don't like glasses. I think they're the worst, and I try not to wear them unless I literally need to see, which you might think that you need to see all the time. But boy, let me tell you, you're not living life in a fun enough way if you think that's true. But yeah, so basically, I've always thought, like, you know, contact lenses, they're a really good solution. If you don't know, you can get, they're called like extended wear contacts. You put them in once every 30 days. You're meant to have a day off every 31 days, which I learned after a year of not doing so. So clearly, either like it's a precautionary measure, or I'm very lucky that I didn't go blind from not taking them out for one day a month. But either way, I've got these magic pieces of plastic in my eye, and now I can see perfectly. It's like my eyes are normal, except there's a piece of, I think it's made from silicone actually. There's a piece of silicone in my eye that makes everything wonderful. And yeah, I've always thought this is the best solution, but a YouTuber I watch, it's MBKHD, in case you're curious. There's a YouTuber I watch who is getting LASIK eye surgery, or just like, let's just call it laser beams fired at your eye. The way it works is because your eye has like incorrect cones of vision, like the left and the right cones are like not correctly aligned. They just laser beam it down until you've got the right level, which is terrifying to think about. They literally laser your eye until it's correct. That's why it's called LASIK, I think. Maybe LASIK's an abbreviation, but I know in the UK it's just laser eyes. So basically, yeah, and I thought it was really interesting that, like, oh yeah, wow, that's a thing a person can do. Like when you see, this made me realize, I guess, like how impressionable a YouTube viewer can be, because I was like, oh, I should look into that too. Clearly, you know, clearly this is a person who probably researches things before he does them, and if he's researched that and came to it being a good conclusion, maybe for me too. But then I remembered, like, before I even got too far into the research, like, oh yeah, the biggest reason, you know, there are many others I would say, the biggest reason you probably don't want to be doing that is because, well, actually, this isn't even a big reason. This is just a horror story that I saw in video form, and like, you know, there are some things that make a big impact on you. One such thing. Also, do I have many? There we go. Here's a lot of bones. We'll just take some bone meal for now. Add it to the pile. But yeah, one of the many things that had a big impact on me is I saw quite a while ago now, actually, a video that was just called "Watch This Before You Have LASIK Eye Surgery." Again, just YouTube's homepage works in mysterious ways. You know, to this day, we kind of just assume, like, you know what? It assumed I might like the video, and I did, so I can't be too mad. And so yeah, I got recommended a video that was basically along the lines of like, hey, don't get laser eye, or watch, you know, just remember when you get laser eye surgery, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you have to put something called hard contact lenses in, which, because your eye, I don't remember all the details, I just remember it was the most horrifying thing I'd ever heard, and I was like, ooh, you know, I always wanted to laser beam my eyes off because it seems kind of cool. But also, that sounds awful. Also, there's the days where you can't see anything. If you don't know when you get laser eye surgery, you literally can't see for some number of days. And it's like, actually, I like seeing in most of my days. There aren't many days where I don't need to see at all. Like, honestly, I think I would go insane if I was blind for 3 days. Knowing that there's a tiny chance that it's not just the 3 days that I'm blind, but it's forever. Like, knowing there's days until you can actually, like, know for sure. Like, no. I don't know, like, I think there are most things where, like, because I think I've said this before, but going blind is genuinely one of my biggest fears. Like, you can torch me, you can tear off my fingernails, and it will hurt. But the real torture is psychological, right? The real torture is in, like, ooh, what if everyone you know doesn't really like you? They just don't. They're just hanging around with you because, you know, it's less awkward than sending you away, or because they need someone to do stuff with. Ooh, your friends will ditch you at the first possible opportunity. They just haven't found one yet. Or like, you know, imagine that every time you tell a joke, people are just laughing because that's what you do in a conversation. No one thinks they're very funny. I don't know. I feel like those are the sorts of things that are actually, like, you know, the cringe feeling is much more horrific than just like, oh yeah, what if pain, but like a lot. And yeah, that's why, like, the idea of having my eyes lasered into is like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool, actually. Sounds kind of metal. But the idea of, like, oh yeah, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you basically go blind afterwards is much more terrifying to me. And then it made me realize, like, this guy had a rare complication to his LASIK eye surgery. Again, I'm sure the video's out there somewhere. I don't know the guy's name, but you know, he had some form of complication. Made his life very complicated, as complications sometimes do. And it made me wonder, like, if what was the point in his making a video if he knew it was this rare situation? Like, if it was a 1 in 1,000 chance, which I'm just going to go with, it might be more or less depending on the situation, would it be worth trying to make videos convincing 1,000 people not to do something which would otherwise be good, knowing that you could save one person who'd have something bad? I guess it's kind of like, to put it another way, you could discourage people from driving, and you could save so many lives. Driving, I don't know, like, it's something like 30, 40,000 people a year die in car accidents. It's like, it's such a huge number. Like, people are always like, oh, guns and stuff like that. Cars are way bigger killers than guns. It's just they're more necessary, so we don't talk about them being a thing that should be removed, even though I could make some arguments for it, I guess. But in the UK, fun fact, we have very safe roads. I still don't know why, what the actual reasoning is. I've been meaning to look into it. I just know we always have very low deaths on any number. With maybe a big part of that being that drunk driving is so discouraged here. But again, I don't know the story. I'm not talking about roads too much. I'm just saying you could encourage people not to get in a car, and most of the time you'd just be getting them places slower. Again, in where I live, public transport is faster than cars, which is a nice change, I would say. But in a lot of places, what you'd really be doing if you said, hey, please don't take your car, is you'd be getting people places slower than they would otherwise. But you would also, at the same time, be saving some percentage of people that said that. So if I say right now, don't get in a car, I can save some number of yours. Actually, wait. Yeah, let's assume like 10,000 people watch this video. With 1 in 10,000 of you this year will probably be in a car wreck. I mean, sad to think about, but like, just kind of, it doesn't even necessarily have to be your fault. It probably will be your fault, so sucks for you killing that other driver, but potentially at least. But if I could encourage every single person who was going to drive to not drive, would it be worth it given the number of experiences everyone else would otherwise miss out on? And that's why I've always thought, because like, whenever anyone has something bad happen to them, like this is such a common theme, that the biggest architects behind like, I don't know, like a child safety bill, like that's why there's like, in the US there's like Megan's Law and Taylor's Law. I don't know all the names of the girls that have had bad things happen to them that then the parents have kind of pressed to have a law named after. Oh, here's a really stupid thing we could do. We could put our flour into the composter to get more bone meal, to get more flowers. It's inefficient and you lose out in the meantime, but you gotta admit it's an appealing concept. Oh, by the way, here's a little side benefit. I didn't even realize, but like, because we have to get rid of so much grass, we get seeds, which I need for the insane wheat farm, because planting that much wheat surprisingly takes a long amount of time. So guess who's doing useful things while they do not useful things, such as talking about LASIK, because yeah, LASIK's a really interesting concept, like fix your eyes forever, only go for one thing. And also the concept of like making videos about rare risks, because I think, I wonder like, is it just that like people should know more about the risks of the things that they should do? Or is it more along the lines of like, people are never going to be truly informed, so stop them doing things that have some dangers? Because one of my favorite examples of a thing that everyone thinks is dangerous but isn't is flying. I catch a lot of planes every month, or every year, let's say, because I'm not flying for the rest of December. It's destination December. Done with destinations for December. It's not as catchy as anything else we can do. But yeah, basically, I did No Fly July recently. That was fun. But by fun, I just mean it's got a fun acronym. But yeah, basically, I fly a lot, and as you know, I haven't died yet. But it's hard to work out when you haven't died just because of pure when you haven't died because you're making smart decisions or because of pure luck, Like, there are many stupid things I'm sure I do on a daily basis. Like, I unplugged my fire alarm because it started beeping. I haven't put a new one in yet. I have a different fire alarm and I have a different CO2 alarm. But I used to have, more safety from fires. Now I have less safety because it was beeping. It was beeping at me because the battery was low, and it's plugged into the mains just so it can beep when the battery's low. And if that's not the most infuriating thing in the world to everyone, I don't know what is. Why not just power the thing from the mains? Why isn't that a thing, battery? But I digress, to yell at a fire alarm for a bit. But yeah, so... yeah, so I have a fire alarm. It's very annoying. Just like all of you. Yeah, you watching this video right now. You're annoying to someone in your life, actually. Actually, I I wonder if it's possible to live your life without annoying anyone. It probably is, right? I just don't think it's a very common goal. You know, there we go. There's my thing. You could live your life without annoying someone if you just try real hard. And although you'll probably sacrifice a lot of things in the meantime, things will be great. Actually, to some extent, that's what, like, anxiety can be described as, right? Like, I want to annoy other people so little that I'm willing to go... Also, do I just lose all the compost layers when I break compost? I probably do, right? That's sad. But, yeah, basically, one of the things I kind of wonder is, like, the risks of things and the way they work. And also, I guess, wanting to not inconvenience others. It all ties into one big ball in my head. But, in case you don't care about that big ball, maybe what you do care about is all my flowers that I've collected in this video. Because this seems like a somewhat pointless activity on the surface, but I think that is a part of what makes it kind of cool. Because just a couple of days from now, there's going to be a big update to the way these things work. And I always enjoy them because when Minecraft changes, like even when you change simple things, like it's just a bee, it's a brand new mob that I don't know how it's going to change my world. I think honey is theoretically very good, but for a solo survival world, maybe not. I think honey blocks are fun, but I don't know what I'm going to build with them. Like, you know, you see my point here, right? Like, I think they're fun. Everything this update doesn't really work for me that I know so far. But what I love is after an update comes out and you try a few things, you find some things you actually really like. And that's what I'm looking forward to about Wednesday. That's why I went through all of this effort to get flowers. So that on Wednesday, when I need a bunch of flowers, rather than looking around for them or trying to steal them from chests all across the world, now I have a dedicated supply and I can make a ridiculous number of bees. I can immediately go from 0 to 1,000 bees if I so want to. And do I want to? Actually, do I have enough for 1,000? I'm probably getting pretty close, but I think that's a good goal to have. That's a fun thing to want to do. And maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Maybe what you think is that, you know, the whole world has been simulated since 2012 because the world actually ended and we've been all living a collective illusion. Or maybe you died in 2012 and everything since then has been fake. Because how can you prove reality is real? Using just your senses, you know? Like the old adage, I think, therefore I am, only proves that you think you exist. Only proves that you exist as best as you can tell. You are the most likely thing to exist. But who's to say that you do exist? Who's to say that any of this is real? Because what makes something real, you know? It's a good question you should consider. Speaking of things you should consider, this video is sadly going to reach its end. Because of all the streams I'm doing, and because I've said this before, but I want the Let's Plays to go back down to like the normal 20, 30, 40 minutes. Like just go for as long as I feel like flowing, I guess. And given that I'm streaming so much, because it's streamless if you don't already know somehow, but because I'm streaming so much, I just want to like, I guess to simplify, have shorter other videos so you can watch my streams, because when you watch my streams, I feel more cared about in the world. Because yeah, streaming's been a fun thing I've hopped into this week, and I hope you will choose to continue watching those as well as this. But yeah, no, thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it some amount. If you did, you can like the video and let me know, and I'm about to die. Okay, you can like the video and let me know. You can share if you really liked it, and you can subscribe if you're new around here, because bees, they're happening soon, and I'm looking forward to that. Goodbye.